3rd. Man, kids getting out for the summer. What a weekend. Got a lot to talk about today. Mitch Davis going to check in immediately from the get-go, batting leadoff from Hoover, SEC tournament. Frank Duffy in Cancun, Doug Dean somewhere in Birmingham. And look, everybody, it's a great weekend. You're going to have a lot of football to talk about. I think Athlon's football magazine is out. So we're going to start off covering SEC baseball. But look, do us a favor. Take your cell phone and take a picture of our QR code. We're on X, YouTube, Facebook, 7 channels streaming live, or watch us later. This weekend be a great time to watch the show. Share it with your friends. And this channel, we have executive producer Brendan Martin putting out content pretty much nonstop. It is unbelievable. We've got like 8-9 shows on this channel all the way up to the night, the Buddy Martin Show, 9 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Thursday. So we are your one-stop shop for SEC sports. And let's get started with our man, Mitch Davis. Good morning, Dr. Arnoff, one of the best doctors in America, the top doctor in the Florida Panhandle. Mitch, SEC tournament, Frank Duffy's here in Cancun. Let's talk about what's happened up to this point. Big dogs walk late, Coach Dye used to say. That means LSU plays today. They can't play much later.
Yeah, so thank you all so much for having me on. It's always a pleasure. I am here at historic Rickwood Field. I'm going to be walking into the SWAC tournament for a game and a half before I head over cover Ole Miss and obviously LSU tonight. I got it. So funny story. So I'm actually staying at the hotel with a lot of the SWAC representatives and teams and everything. So I got to talking because I love college baseball.
Yeah.
And they invited me over this morning. They said, hey, if you have a couple hours free time, we'd love to show you around Rickwood Field and teach you about the SWAC. And obviously I'm familiar with Southern and Jackson State, Grambling State. You got FAMU. There's a lot of great programs here. It might not be the level of SEC caliber that I've seen in Hoover this week, but it's a great honor. I'm sitting here looking at the stadium right now, and it is, you can feel, I'm not even out of the car, and you can feel this history. It's the oldest ballpark in America. So as soon as I get off here right at 8:15, I'm going to go take a tour, cover a game or two. I think my first game is from the great state of Mississippi. I'm covering Jackson State. So then I'll make my way over to the Met, and we'll see how late we. Last night I closed the place down. I got to not only go in the press conference with Coach Corbin, but Coach Corbin's a good friend of the podcast and comes on every year. So I got him for a few minutes afterward and was catching up. And there's nobody better in college baseball than Tim Corbin. He is. There's a lot of great coaches in this league, but Tim Corbin, there's something special about Vanderbilt baseball. I can't put my finger on it just yet, but it just feels like, feels comforting. It's like the Cardinals. It's, it feels comforting that, that Vanderbilt's still playing baseball. It's a very cool thing.
Yeah, I remember hearing him talk up in the mid-state, Nashville, when he was building that program. We're going to get all the top players within 250 miles. So I think it is a great story. Mitch, and I hope Frank can come back in with us. He is in Cancun. That's just south of Birmingham. But what have you seen about the crowd so far? I think there was, a question brought up, single elimination. Maybe the following wouldn't be there. I immediately, no way. I just think Hoover is an event. It's like Mardi Gras, well, the float's going to be a different color this year. Nobody cares. You're all going to be liquored up.
Yeah. So, we had 10,000 last night. I was looking at the box score. That was a session with Tennessee and also Vanderbilt. Really, truthfully, it hasn't changed. It still feels special. Jason Crowder and I were talking about that from Mississippi State yesterday, is about what this place means, what the Hoover Met means to us Southeastern, our traditional SEC guys. Texas and Oklahoma, they might not understand this place. A&M has done better. Obviously, I don't even know if Missouri has a baseball program anymore. If they do, they need to abolish it immediately, because either invest in it or get the hell out, because it's ridiculous. And I love Carrick Johnson. It is not his fault. He does not, and I'm sorry to get on a soapbox early. I feel very passionately about college baseball and about growing this game. And there's no excuse when you're, I get it. You don't want to invest, whatever. But if you're going to have a baseball program, position those young men to be in the best position to win baseball games. And I was talking to my dad last night. He's down here with me, not here with me today. He decided to do a little sleeping instead of covering some SWAC baseball. That's okay. But told him about Kentucky. I said, Kentucky needs to invest more into college baseball. You've got Mississippi State, LSU's of the world who are spending millions of dollars in facilities and NIL budgets and all that kind of great stuff. Programs like Kentucky, Mizzou, you're already at a disadvantage because you're playing up north. You got kids that getting offers from Ole Miss and LSU and Vanderbilts and even maybe even South Carolina in there in Florida, and you're up at a disadvantage. You're having the recruiting in some of these teams that not only have the NIL budget, but they also are playing in warmer clients.
Yeah.
And that's something to keep in mind while we're advancing on through Hoover here.
I agree. Doug Dean's on here with us. Frank, you've got questions about LSU baseball, but like all the LSU guys we have on here, whether it's Scott Rabelais, Jimmy Ott, the Ott father, Ron Higgins, Jacques Doucet from Channel 9 in Baton Rouge. There's like 40 plus media members, Frank, from LSU covering just baseball. Nobody else in America. Talk about that Tiger tradition.
Well, here's the thing, guys. LSU baseball, it is a different animal down there. When you have the box that's loaded, I mean, Mississippi State, again, with all due respect, they do a great job of packing Dooley Stadium, but the box is just when it's on, it's incredible. And there's an interest in LSU baseball 12 months out of the year. But at this time of year, once we get to Hoover, and of course, our hopes are to have host a regional, and I think with our seeding, we will probably host a super regional if we get out of the regional.
Yeah.
Which 2 years ago when we won the national championship was big because we were able to play a very hot Kentucky team in Baton Rouge, as opposed to having to play up in Lexington. So there's a big advantage for that. But yes, LSU baseball. Nothing will eclipse LSU football, but LSU baseball is a 1A. At this time of year, everybody's excited. And anything short of Omaha is a disappointment. Has been since Skip took over, back in the late 80s.
Yeah. Mitch, talking about that, what fan bases are best represented? I know I'm not going to be surprised, but I'm just curious. I know you cover Mississippi State and Ole Miss really closely.
Yeah, so obviously LSU, it's like Kentucky basketball in Nashville. They take it for down here. Mississippi State have a lot of fans. They probably had 8,000 for an early Wednesday morning game.
Mitch, you're cracking up really bad. I don't know what happened. Did you adjust the metal plate in your head? I don't know what happened, but we
got a loose mic or something.
Yeah, loose mic.
It sounds like a cell service.
Yeah, cell service. It might be cell service. Mitch, try to reboot. Come back in if we lose you. I hate it, but try to.
He was giving us a compliment. Anytime that you can compare any SEC program in a particular sport with Kentucky and basketball, that's a compliment. And I certainly appreciate him saying that. And I know there's a lot of LSU fans that are in Hoover. I'm gonna try and get over on Saturday and Sunday. We fly back to the States today, and I'm hoping to get over there as well.
Frank, I thought you took the bus down there. I'm sorry. Hey, Doug, Mitch is in historic Rickwood Field, and Doug is one of the most profound advocates and fans of the Magic City, Birmingham. I love that city. I'm telling you, there's something about it. It's bohemian, it's mountains, and it's southern. I don't want to put the secret out, but Mitch, it turned Mitch sideways. But what they did at Rickwood Field, by the way, Doug. I applaud Birmingham. God, I love what they did.
Yeah, the great Willie Mays played there, and so many others.
Sure. Thank you.
The historic. I know a little about a friend and colleague of mine who retired from where I work. Coke Matthews was very involved in that Rickwood Field Historic Society, if I've got the name right. So it's really cool that if you travel to, and I'm gonna be going to Italy early July. And the first time I got to go there, what more than anything else stood out to me, comparing it to the United States overall, not every city, but many cities. In Italy, nothing gets torn down. There's always scaffolding on some, 200 or 300 or more year old structure, and they're always preserving the history of that. And it's nice that Rickwood Field is able to do that, and to get actual MLB teams in there, I guess once a year to keep those memories alive. And that's a cool thing. As y'all were talking about SEC baseball tournament, which Auburn, apparently Butch decided it was better to be rested than rusted. one and done. That's the problem with in the SEC. We're cannibalizing each other. You saw it in basketball, where you were never going to have 8 SEC basketball teams in the Elite Eight.
No.
And you were never going to have, very likely, 3 SEC teams in the Final Four, because there's so many of us playing well, and the same is true in baseball. Pick your favorite 1 through 9,
Sure.
maybe 1 through 10. And I'd be careful betting against almost any of them to make a deep run and get to Omaha. You guys agree?
Yeah. And I'll tell you, you're talking about going to Italy and everything old. Reminds me of an episode of the Beverly Hillbillies when they first moved into the mansion in Beverly Hills, and that Mr. Clampett, Uncle Jeb, was looking up at that chandelier hanging. He goes, "Mr. Drysdale, we got this old glass hanging from the ceiling." He goes, Why, that chandelier's more than 250 years old. It was owned by Charles XIV and Marie Antoinette and Louis XIV. He goes, "Mr. Drysdale, it's okay. We just simple, plain old country folk. We don't mind if it's secondhand."
Secondhand. And listen, I hope, speaking in a partisan way, going into yesterday's tough loss, man, that Auburn had so many 3 or 4 balls go deep on the warning track. And that's one of the challenges playing at the Met. Some coaches will tell you, play small ball, because it's hard to get the ball out of that park, depending on humidity and wind and all those things that Frank Duffy can speak eloquently about. And I don't really understand, but 3-2 game. Congrats to A&M. Definitely needed that win to help their chances more. But I hope that going into that game, Auburn had the number 1 RPI in all of baseball.
Sure.
So if you're orange and blue, you have to hope that metrics matter, despite getting sent home 1 and done.
Georgia's 2, and I think Auburn's strength of schedule is 1. They needed regional, but they lost 3 of the last 4. But that was a costly game for A&M. Chase Laviolette, he'll figure out a way to play. They'll shoot him up.
What's his injury?
Hand. I think he got hit on the hand. I think that's what happened yesterday.
I think our pitchers, they're lucky they didn't get the mound rushed. There were 2 or 3 plunks, weren't there?
Yeah, it was wild. Frank, looking at LSU and this whole tournament, Texas already out. Tennessee, the Battle of UT, Big Orange win. And I think, man, everybody on Texas is about 6'5", 250. Those are some big boys down there.
Yeah, they are. And I think the interesting thing, A&M, they're a dangerous team. They've got incredible talent. Your number 1 ranked team in college baseball coming into the season. Obviously, a huge disappointment, but very dangerous. So, but UT is always going to be tough. We played them. I guess I can't remember if it was the time that I went last year or the 2 years before that, when we played them in that championship game. I mean, they're tough to beat. UT, Vitello's got a hell of a program going on over there. But to Doug's point, we're all beating the hell out of each other. We've gone through this murderer's row. I hope that's rewarded when the regionals are dished out. I would highly expect, at least 8 of us, maybe 9 of us, to have hosting regionals. And, and look, don't forget, it's not always the play of your program, but it's also the fact that you're going to be bringing in fans. And, at the SEC is just a hotbed of college baseball interest. and they're not going to overlook that. And all you can hope for is to have a host of a regional. And then after that, the kind of chips fall where they might. Our big thing is our starting pitching. Our first two pitchers, our bread and butter. We hit, but it's the pitching. So when you go into a 3-game series, you got to win those first 2 games. If not, if it comes down to that 3rd game, you're taking a risk. So I think at the SEC hosting regionals will give us a really good chance to place 8 of our teams in super regionals. And, if we can get 5 or 6 out, how cool would that be, right? To get 5 or 6 teams in Omaha. They'd be like Hoover North.
Rob, here is how we measure the baseball confidence level of one Frank Duffy. Frank Duff, as I like to call you, have you had the legendary Bengal 1 RV serviced within the last few days?
It's actually being serviced now. It is all ready to go to Nebraska just in case.
Just in case. Frank, I was laughing my ass off 2 years ago. You went on, it was like Gilligan's Island, a 3-hour cruise. You were going to California with Rhonda for a little vacation. Rhonda, if by chance LSU makes it to Omaha, we'll just go, day or two. 12 days of Omaha.
20,
you were driving back.
22, you've cheated me out of 10 days. Don't cheat me out of those 10 days. I was there.
Well, you were 28 on the trip.
22 days in Omaha. 27 on the trip. We had just gotten out to Colorado Springs. We were sitting in the Broadmoor when I told her this. I looked over. I said, look, I know we're supposed to go to Yellowstone. I've been to Yellowstone. She hadn't. I said, I'm going to show you Yellowstone. However, in all my years of being an LSU baseball fan, I had never made the trip to Omaha. I had never gone with all those national championship teams. Something always came up. But I told her, I said, if we're west of Nebraska and all we got to do is turn back home east, this RV is not going to Yosemite. It's not going to Yellowstone. It's not going to Jellystone. We will not be seeing Boo Boo or Yogi. Our asses are going back to Nebraska.
How about a nice picnic basket?
That's right.
But Frank, it was so funny because you were driving home and I could just tell that you were like a condemned man walking the Green Mile going, I'll be doing whatever she says for a while.
Well, first of all, I couldn't start driving until a day and a half because I was too hungover from the damn Jello shots to even drive a 20-ton beast. I literally made it as far back as my RV. Didn't quite make it to the back bedroom. I passed out on the tile floor right next to the stand-up shower. I didn't even make it the extra 4 feet back to back. We got hammered so bad. Look, those 68,888 shots didn't drink themselves.
No. Well, at Omaha, we're talking about college baseball.
Great experience.
And Hoover, Omaha don't touch. Hoover don't touch people because you've got the RVs. It's what makes it special is the Southern fans tailgate like they do at a football game, and you don't touch Hoover. Okay, you don't mess with the blues. You don't mess with traditional country. You don't go back and remaster George Jones singing, who's gonna fill them shoes? You don't touch that. Okay, you don't take the words out of anything. You don't mess with history, tradition.
68,000 shots. Did I hear you right?
68,888 Jello shots at Rock.
Mother of vodka.
All I know is that I had at least a tray and a half when Todd Graves, the owner of Raising Cane's, came in and said, I'm personally putting $10,000 down so we can shatter Ole Miss's record while I'm here to enjoy it. When they started coming out with the trays, Doug, my liver and I looked at each other and said, well, somebody's got to do it.
Yeah, I'm into dark humor, as you guys know, and not everyone is. So listeners, if it's not your cup of tea, scroll on. But if I should ever need a kidney or liver transplant. I've got an additional screening question. Was this an LSU fan?
Yes.
I mean,
That's right.
I shouldn't be picky if I need a transplant.
Brother,
Or maybe I should look at it more. If it is an LSU fan, they're bulletproof.
well, I'm going to tell you.
Yes.
When it comes to the liver, don't get one of ours. But you know what? Them kidneys work, brother. They good.
Well,
funnel them.
you know what? And here's the thing about Omaha that's so big. Even when LSU's not in the College World Series,
A lot of
LSU fans go there. You know,
Wow.
and I think
It's
I
the
look
Jell-O
at
shots.
look at a program
and Auburn
Yeah.
fans too. I ran into about 5 or 6 Auburn fans
It's a happening.
in Omaha. You know, the year you guys didn't make it.
It's like Music Fest in Memphis. People just come down there, and traditionally it rains, and it's a mud slosh pit down there. But you're drinking
Incredible.
and you're doing whatever else and listening to great music.
Only
And the
negative
Jazz Fest
a
in New
lot of
Orleans.
years is it's hot as blue blazes.
Yeah, it was.
Yes.
It was that.
Some years.
And I'll tell you guys, I've been to every one of the LSU national championship games that I was alive for. I missed 58 by a year and a half, but I will tell you, there was no better experience reaching the summit as a college sports fan than in Omaha. And I've been to every one of our national championship games. That's how really cool Omaha was, because it wasn't 3 hours, even if a tailgate day before, 2 days before. It was 22 days of a march. And let me tell you something. It was like we were playing with them. I mentioned that to you guys. That Saturday game when Florida, it would have been the Sunday game, when the Sunday game and Florida beat the tar out of us. We were done. The players were done. The families were done. The fans were done. We had nothing left. We had a wall. I kept joking, hey, Florida, y'all need to score more than 23 runs. Score 43 runs. Get it all out of your system, because we had nothing. But when you come back, it's a different story.
It is. All right, let's flip the script real
Can we
quick,
talk
guys.
football?
You know what? You know what's on the magazine stands right now?
Salma Hayek on the cover of SI Swimsuit.
There you go. She beat out Mildred and Petunia. I love Mildred when asked, Mildred, where are you from? Columbaner. Where? Columbaner. There's a town in Alabama called Columbiana.
I know exactly. I go by it every time I go to Lake Martin.
Kind of reminds me about that joke about that old redneck said his wife was passed out on the floor, and they said, called 911, and they said, sir, go ahead. What's the emergency? My wife, she doubled up on the floor with a gut ache, and I don't know what's wrong with her. I said, well, just give us your address. We'll send an ambulance. He goes, well, it's 1719 Eucalyptus Street. Calm down. We need a spelling. He goes, oh, hell, how about I just drag her on over to Oak Street? Holy shnikes. Hey, look, let me tell y'all something. These football magazines are coming out, and I don't care where you are.
We need Salma Hayek on the cover of those, too.
That's right. Nobody would talk about NIL or the portal, but damn, guys. And let me tell you.
I used to buy every damn one of those things.
Less than 100 days.
If you wonder about the future of college football, just go to a city like Birmingham. God almighty, man. I mean, oh, wow. There we go. Good morning, Birmingham. And you know, the thing is, you go there. Country. Yeah, it is the greatest country in the world. And, Columbaner.
Can I tell you about my story one time doing the movie, and Elle McPherson was the executive producer. That wasn't a bad day.
No,
no. She's one of the best she was one of my favorite covers of SI ever, by the way. Doug.
She was in that. She was
the OG of SI covers.
Sure.
She was played the cheating wife of Anthony Hopkins in that movie that he was on the plane with Alec Baldwin, and it went down. And what was that called? I can't remember. But yeah, she's a class. Elle's a classic beauty. So is Salma Hayek.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Those are back in the day. Sorry, I digress.
No, Brendan. We're all ears about that.
Rob,
that's very pleasant.
Speaking of, y'all ever have a flashback of things that under the theme "What Might Have Been," which is
usually LSD, but that's
all about college football. So I was thinking of the great the old ball coach, Steve Spurrier. And what made me
Yep.
kind of dig back into the archives a little is, there's too much time on the hands of football fans right now. And not to mention journalists, sports journalists. And Auburn fans are up in arms, some of them, a loud segment of them on the message boards, that Hugh Freeze is playing a lot of golf in April and May. And
They all do.
my goodness,
Yep.
should he be with a pot of high caffeine coffee sitting in the athletic complex, looking at film till 3 a.m, drawing up plays? And I found this Steve Spurrier quote from August 25, 2016. And I quote Spurrier, quote, "The way coaches work now, I don't know how we won a game with as much golf as I played in the off season." And
Yeah.
what might have been was that
Great.
magical 2010 Auburn season. About, I guess it was mid to late September. Actually, it was September 25th. Auburn hosted South Carolina. Spurrier coached South Carolina. The game was scoreless, and Cam Newton broke off a zone read run down the right sideline, 54 yards. And when he got to not the 2 or 3 yard line, the 7 yard line, he got airborne and easily broke the plane in the end zone. Y'all remember that?
I do know that.
Oh, yeah.
But
Yeah.
that was a hell of a South Carolina team. Garcia was underrated as he would later beat Alabama at Stephen Garcia
2010.
at South Carolina. But they had Alshon Jeffrey, Marcus Lattimore. And so that was, and that game went down to the wire. And Spurrier had his quarterback throwing at the end zone with 33 seconds left. It got intercepted. But late game, Garcia coughed it up a couple of times, or they had 3 turnovers, I think, in the fourth quarter, or they may well have derailed that magical Auburn run. So Spurrier, man, he had his moments, had South Carolina fans more excited than most years. So what might have been they just picked the wrong year to be really good when they had to run into a team like Auburn happened to have that year.
Yeah, and I'm telling you something. I was in Tractor Supply yesterday over here, and I ran into a guy covered head to toe, Florida Gator stuff. Just talking to him. He lives in Jacksonville, has since '91, and we were talking about the show, and he goes, "Man, I've been looking for something like this. This channel, Gator Bait and our show, and what Brendan and Buddy and everybody on here are doing, all of us." And he talked about Spurrier. And I said, well, you think Spurrier hates losing. Urban Meyer despises it to the point where I think it physically makes him sick. But these coaches that we're talking about right there, if you don't play golf to relieve some stress, you're going to be unproductive. Like Doug's right. We can all increase the number of hours we work tenfold. But if you're not working smart, you're going to end up in a hospital flat on your back. And most business deals, let's think about it, in the South, are done on the golf course. I would say in a duck blind, or at a baseball game, or tailgating, or just hunting at a dove hunt.
It's not just the South. I mean, that's where.
But in this region, but all over the country, golf courses. People pay that much. Brendan, you caddied for some of the most influential people in the world.
Well, not just people, but just coaches.
Yeah.
Just head coaches. I mean, and I used to joke. I used to caddy for every new head coach and every starting quarterback for the Denver Broncos. It was like they always went out together, right? Because that's where you're going to get to know each other.
Sure.
5 hours, playing a hit and giggle or whatever you got to do.
Did you caddy Elway?
Oh yeah, many times.
Wow.
Many times.
Wow.
Many times. Yeah.
I like that's a new term, a hit and giggle.
Yeah, that's when you're playing with your wife. It's the hit and giggle.
I'm not touching that.
Well, I mean, look, I think there was a tournament called it, the 9 hole, but it's fun because it's like, that's again, husband, wife, great time, go out and play 9 holes in the afternoon. It's just a time where you talk. You're not on your phone. You're outside and you're walking around if it's a good course.
Well,
And that, so you're accomplishing a lot of things at one time. And in this world, that's a difficult thing to do. And you feel good when you're done. Well, not always, unless you lost your ass or you played bad, but nonetheless, you still had fun.
Well, and look, like the Jimmy Raines Classic, and then Saban and all at the coaches' meetings. To use a vernacular that Doug is familiar with, being a bow hunter, it's when all the spring bucks get out there and start hitting those racks together. And look, I want my coach out there yucking it up. I don't want him not to be out there. I want him to be out on the course, giving it as well as he can take it. And especially if your coach is not from the South. When I want him to be in there tussling. I want him having a $20
It's competitive blood. Look, I've said it before, and I'm not going to repeat it, but caddying for Spurrier and Neuheisel at their sort of their prime in their prime, where Neuheisel's the head coach at CU. Watching them play 18 holes going head to head is the most intense 18 holes I ever caddied for in my life, because it starts to rain at 9 and they're playing the backside first. So it's raining on 18 and they're going in 18 down. Ricky's up 1, right? Going into the 9th hole. And then Spurrier makes birdie, drills a 10-footer, and he's playing with one golf shoe on and one sneaker on. Because he's got an ankle, right? And his ankle's bugging him. So now it's starting to rain a little bit. Now this is at Castle Pines where the thunderstorms come up on you. There's more lightning strikes at Castle Pines than Tampa on a yearly basis. It is lightning capital. And, storms start brewing. Spurrier drains that thing. They go even. They look at each other. And Rick's like, Steve, we could just quit right now. Steve's like, I'll see you on the tee. Like they're going, there's no way Spurrier would. And now I won't tell you who won because that wouldn't be the gentleman thing to do. But nonetheless, it was more fun to watch those two guys be competitive and do that. You're going to tell me that doesn't translate into being a head coach?
It absolutely.
You know what I mean? That's just who you are, and you've got to feed that within your personality, within your makeup, because otherwise you're going to lose that personal edge, because golf is such a mono thing,
A quick note on Hugh Freeze, and it's surprising to me that it's just been dismissed out of even writers' minds. Fans are fans, we're irrational as hell, especially the farther you get in the deep South. And it seems like fans take two extremes, unless you're a program like Georgia and Alabama in recent, couple of decades, in which it's not ridiculous to expect to win a national championship. They've done enough of it that you can't laugh at them if that's their expectation.
Sure.
But it seems like in the Auburn fan base, probably a lot of them, it's I don't want to expect much. It'll just be emotionally too hard for me when I'm wrong. And that's not me. I'd rather be. I can hardened enough as an Auburn fan. I can handle being wrong by being too rosy about expectations. So I think Auburn has potential 9-3. But the thing that's being forgotten is Hugh Freeze only months ago got a cancer diagnosis, and with consultation with his doctor, he is able safely, they say, to postpone if and when he needs surgery. And so I'm sure they're treating it in ways that doesn't interfere. But I'm certain that his physician would say, it's best if you have good nutrition, you don't spark your stress level where you can help it, and don't exhaust yourself with being on airplanes 6 days a week and delayed, because I don't think there's much you can have recruits on campus right now. I'm not sure you can go visit recruits much. Now they'll come. So if Hugh Freeze, if we get to July and August and we're hearing of his Moore's Mill tee times on a daily basis, I'll start worrying them. But I think it's silly season. There's not enough to talk about, and fans will be fans.
Hey, I'm sorry. Go, Rob.
No, I mean, y'all are right. And all of us, I mean, God almighty, Brendan, again, we're right. And he's right about not saying that that's the gentleman's thing to do. That's off the record, whatever. If you are so driven and you don't have some downtime, you will be unproductive.
Yeah.
You've got look. I want to be the first one up in the morning. I'm ready to roll. I detest losing, but you know what? Don't let the moment, as Butch Thompson says, be bigger than it is. Deal with it, but don't stay in failure zone. Move forward to success zone as quickly as you can.
And by the way, Doug, you being in the healthcare profession, I don't know if it's in the AMA journal, but I would think under the format of "Don't be stressful," there has to be a picture of the Iron Bowl somewhere in there. You know, like you really don't want to be stressed out. That might not be what you want to do.
Hey, Devin, interrupt.
Avoid 4th and 31s while you're recovering from cancer. Go ahead.
Hey, Brendan's got something to say.
Duff, I'm going to interrupt you really quick. If you're going to have the 1996 influencer headphone mics on, you got to hold up the string like this so we can hear you, so it doesn't sound like you're in your pocket. Okay.
Testing.
He's in.
Thank you so much. You have to do it like this since you're going to go that route. Otherwise, I know we can afford the really new ones. Doug.
I've got a
Frank, we need to upgrade you, brother.
Can you hear me?
Testing 1 2 testing.
A little better, but you need to get it in there. We're in your pocket right now.
Here's a question I have. When you travel abroad,
no, you're good, Doug. I'm yelling at Frank. Sorry,
we're messing with
Frank and his headset since he's got this 1986.
Well, you know, when you're a big time thoroughbred owner, you have to do what you can do. You know?
Frank, there's a really nice iPod, ear things that Bluetooth and everything now.
Guys,
awesome.
y'all are just lucky I walked down here to get some reception.
But the thing is, Frank, is I know if it plugs into your phone, that means your phone is old. Okay, don't think that you're fooling me. So why are you using this phone, Frank? I want to know. Phone.
By the way, they've already chastised me for my Gulf of America shirt. I might not be let back in the customs.
It's not a friendly place right now, Frank. It's travel advisories in Mexico.
Yeah, travel advisories.
Cancun's not so safe.
Hey, I got a chance Monday.
The LSU
Greg
family.
That's right.
Hey, Monday night, Greg McElroy spoke at the Touchdown Club, and I got to ask him about the Alabama quarterback room. And I don't know if we can pull that soundbite up or not, but it was an interesting.
Rob, you cannot send videos. I'm going to tell you right now on the air in front of everybody. You keep thinking you send me videos, Rob, but you don't send me videos. You send me pictures. You send me links to places that don't go to the place. I love you, but I do not get the videos.
Rob, focus.
All right, I'm gonna figure that out. Okay, so interesting thing. We're looking across at quarterbacks. I want to bounce around with y'all. I don't say you guys south of the Mason-Dixon line, y'all. I want to ask all of y'all, give me your top 5 quarterbacks in the SEC coming back this year. And I'm going to start with Brendan and then Frank and then Doug. And then we're going to be rapid fire here for the rest of the show.
I'm not ready to say what
I like Lagway, and I like the kid from South Carolina. I think he's awesome. But give me Nussmeier. Give me a pro style quarterback. I mean, he's been in the system for a long time. He sat behind Jake.
Tell me about his receivers.
Well, I mean, we've got, we've reshuffled. I think Malik is going to be probably the best of ours. We've got the kid Anderson from Alabama. I think this might be his year to shine. We did lose Taylor, Mason Taylor. We need to come up with a tight end. But I think,
what about the Bobby Boucher kid that I've heard a lot about?
No, seriously, is that his name?
No.
I'm gonna say alligator.
When LSU quit having players with pronunciations like that, it was downhill.
No doubt.
Yes.
Well, here's the thing, though. I think people are missing. Our offense is always going to be good. It will be. Nussmeier, I think, is going to have a good year. I think where we have to improve is on our defense and getting Perkins back. And by the way, the young man graduated in 3 years. Very impressive. Perkins walked down the aisle with his degree. Very impressive. And really is. And then we got Weeks at linebacker. And so I think this is going to be the best linebacking core we've had, probably going back to Devin White's days in 2018. I think we're going to have good play at secondary. It just depends on how deep our defensive line is. Now, of course, every SEC team is going to say that. So, but I think as far as quarterback goes, I think Nuss is right up there with him. But I love Lagway at Florida. I think
he should have a good year.
Dynamic quarterback, for sure.
Hey, Duff, I'm not trying to, spit in your cornflakes, but it could be that
stir my grits.
By as early as September 25th, Brian Kelly will know how warm his seat is or not, or how cool it is. Month of September, open with Clemson. When will you learn? Clemson, 2 weeks later, Florida. Then 2 weeks later, also another road game, Oxford, Ole Miss.
Correct. And
I think y'all better than Ole Miss, but man, Murderers Row in September.
And South Carolina looming right after that. Oh no, you're absolutely right. We're gonna know. Let me tell you something.
If you're 4-1, you're pretty happy.
We damn right we would be. We're 0-5 in openers, in the last 5 openers. We got to change that this year. We got to go play at Clemson. And I saw somebody had Clemson picked number 1 in the country because of
they're getting hyped. They're really getting hyped.
Schedule and stuff. So let me tell you something. We go out and lay an egg in the faux Death Valley, and all hell's going to break loose.
You know what though? And I'm not anti-Dabo. He's certainly won his crown of roses over the years, but although it's been a minute for Dabo since he's really lit it up. But I think it helps LSU actually in the Department of Psychology that Clemson is getting hyped so much in the preseason because LSU's got players. You got to go in there and play a really physical brand of ball and see if Clemson is up for the same thing.
Agreed.
Remember 2008, Nick Saban's second year at Alabama, their road trip to play Clemson. They beat them 34-10. The Clemson's good, but Josh Pate in his post-spring 25 rankings has Clemson at number 1, Texas at 2, Penn State 3, Alabama 4, and LSU 5. Notre Dame at 6. And speaking of Notre Dame, we haven't even talked about what Heather Dinich and Ross Dellinger and a bunch of reporters, Brett McMurphy, have been talking about the seeding, the new seeding that we're doing for the playoff. Look,
so happy.
I'm sensing movement in the aisles that we're fixing this stuff without realizing it. And I think that I think we don't realize that it's happening right before us. The free market is actually working because the look at season ticket sales. That's the canary in the coal mine at every school. When you have a waiting list at Alabama of 32,000, 27,000 at Tennessee, Auburn, Florida, that's telling you because college annuitizes itself. When you've got skin in the game, love of the laundry, that brick and mortar love, that's different than the NFL. Some guy going and buying a jersey that comes down to his knees and going to a game with all of his other friends, and tailgating in an asphalt parking lot. I'm sorry, but I'm against anything that makes college football more like pro football.
Great.
People even dress nicer. I mean, it looks like the bar scene at Star Wars when you see the Raiders fans. I'm talking about the original.
They're pretty vile in the NFL, aren't they?
Pretty, as they say in Great Britain, rubes and boobs and booers. I mean, just oafs. And I mean, like Ben Troop always says, when I die, I want the Falcons to bury me. And I said, why is that? He goes, I just want to let them let me down one more time. It's a tough
Well, there's a genteelness that goes in college football. There's a respect.
More so in the South, I would argue.
I totally agree.
Reverent.
Totally agree. Reverent. Yeah, that's a good idea. It's good natured. It's barbs, but there's a level of respect, and might come from our upbringing, might come from our history. I don't know, but there is a way to win and lose with valor and with grace that I think is on display in the South.
Rob, were there, Greg? By the way, I've been thinking about Greg McElroy. I've been impressed with how he has grown into being an analyst. I mean, he was always smart. and it didn't hurt that he got to experience college football and at the highest level under Coach Saban. But Greg can stay in media as long as he wants. It's his life. But I could absolutely see him. He's got Dallas roots, if I remember.
LA.
I could see him, if he wants to, being a GM at the Dallas Cowboys or somewhere like that down the road, if he wants to, because he can really evaluate football at any level. What?
Kind of a major Apple.
Yeah, Rob. What were his major takeaways when you had in Memphis, McElroy's?
Well, one of the funniest things he did was tell a Nick Saban story about when they were playing Texas in the Rose Bowl in 2009. He goes, "We're up 21-3, 24-3 at the half or whatever. We're all celebrating and all. And Coach Saban comes in there and goes, all right, that's just the first half. And I'm not going to say on the air what he said, but it was pretty colorful. And then after the game, they win. Remember, it's 24-21 Alabama with 5 minutes and 47 seconds to go in the ball game. Alabama gets a scoop and score. The hero of the game, Marcel Darius out of Huffman High School, and of course, Birmingham. And then they get a pick, and then they score. They win 37-24. He goes, after the game, locker room at the Rose Bowl. It doesn't get any better. Walking off, you've beat Texas for the national championship. Coach Saban's in there. Everybody take a knee. And he goes, all right, I'm proud of y'all. And he can do a pretty good Saban imitation because I can't. But he said Coach Saban was really proud of him and all this stuff. And he goes, but for those of y'all that are coming back next year, and I know who you are, this is not the Alabama standard. You had those guys down 24-3 and you bang. And it was like, there you go. He goes, we're all thinking about where are we going to go grab some beers, But that's that competition that we need. But his takeaway was in college football, NIL, the portal and all, it's not going to be back like it was in 08, 09. He said, but it's still so entertaining. And we've been here before, folks. We're going to find a way. I'm going up to the Spring River trout fishing after the show today. There'll be 14 of us up there. We're all fans, and we will be consuming a lot of great food, beer, whiskey, having fun. But college football will be front and center because you know why? What's the old saying? Hope does spring eternal. I mean, Doug, you're the great literary, genius, but you're right. And did Shakespeare say that?
Quote again, Rob. I'm sorry.
Hope springs eternal. Was that Shakespeare that said that?
I don't think that was Bill Shakespeare.
Bill Shakespeare. Is that you, Bill Shakespeare?
That might have been Samuel Clemens.
Might have been a guy that took that picture of Selma Hayek there.
Here's your quote of the day. This one will really make this one. You need 68,000 Jell-O shots
at Rocco's
for this one. Nothing is good or bad except from thinking. Now that's Act 2, Scene 2, Hamlet, and it was Hamlet that said that. So, and that it applies to college football right now. Is it great that college athletes are getting large money as a rising high school senior? We don't even know if they can play college football. Half the people you ask will say, "Oh, that's awesome. I'm glad they're getting money." And but Kirby was right. It is weird, and you could say wrong, that an incoming freshman is getting more money because that's the market right now than a senior who's already proven some things on the field.
I'm going to tell y'all something. I got a text yesterday from our intern.
Kirby, you don't have to pay them that.
Oakley McFerrin, our intern, his high school quarterback, Marcel Reed, is now starting at A&M. He's going to get him on the show with us in the next week or two. Marcel has an NIL deal with an airplane company, and it's about saving lives on those flights. That's a good cause. That's a kid whose dad, I think, coaches at Tennessee State University in Nashville. I think what schools need to be doing more of is talking about what these kids' NIL deals are. Look at DJ Lagway at Florida. I think he has some type of foundation. I know he's given scholarships to the softball. And we don't make the mistake on this show, guys, women's softball. There's no beer gut league for the college boys going, "God, he went yard. There you go." We're in coaches' shorts. But there's some good cases of people, even Jalen Milroe, and I have this on good accord. He was giving out and helping his teammates that didn't get as much at Alabama. Say what you want about him, but both of his parents are United States Marines, and he is from Texas. So I think, Doug, right, say it again. Hamlet said it. There's nothing good or bad from thinking.
I want to get the quote
I love
perfect.
That.
I want to get the quote perfect. So go pitch to Frank.
Frank.
Well, I was just going to say, Milrose's parents should have rubbed off on Amali Ava.
Yeah. And by the way, Tennessee may be playing UCLA in baseball if they get sent to the regional out there. Say hello to the Iamaliavas. I'm sure they'll all get together and have a coffee talk. I'm getting verklempt. You know, it could be fun. All right, guys. And by the way, Franz
Here's
Beard,
your quote, Rob. I'm breaking in, Brendan.
Breaking news.
Quote, there is nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. I love that way, the way you turn a phrase with that.
Sure.
And that's from Shakespeare's tragedy, Hamlet, Act 2, Scene 2, spoken by Hamlet. And what makes it dramatic is Hamlet at that point already knew that his father had been killed by someone he was supposed to trust.
That's right. All right, trivia question here. Anybody can answer this question. There is a high school, an old high school in Montgomery, Alabama, Sidney Lanier. Does anyone know the school nickname of Sidney Lanier High School? Anyone?
Oh, God. I knew that, and it's slipping me.
The Poets.
Really? I
No,
didn't know that.
okay.
And that's Shakespeare Theater in Montgomery. I think Red Blunt and a lot of people made that. That is a
Amazing.
gorgeous facility. I would say per capita, the South is the most cultured and well-read and literary region of America.
Well, that's where you guys got the name for your university.
That's right. Oliver Goldsmith. Yes.
You know, I had someone.
Sweet off.
Good. Break down the quarterback room.
The Yankees, bless their heart.
All right.
Here we go. Here we
I
go.
converted your thing. I ran it through 45 different AIs.
Oh, let's
Reached
go.
it.
Thank you. My
Next
fault.
time we're going to use the Dropbox link.
Number
Okay.
14, give it to
Okay,
me.
here we go. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Very good. Break down the quarterback room at Alabama this year. Year 2 under Kalen DeBoer. And I guess the question I would have is, how different do you expect them to be this year with more of his style of quarterback?
Well, I mean, I think that last year they did a pretty good job kind of coaching to Jalen's strengths, right? Quarterback run was a huge part of what they did. Kalen's always going to kind of adopt his offense to the personnel he has. So I think looking at that, they did a pretty good job last year. Now looking at this group, Ty's pretty athletic. I think people don't realize just how athletic he is. Will quarterback run still be a part of the offense if he's the guy? Sure, I can see that being a part of it. He also has plenty of arm downfield too. So I think they'll be better around the quarterback too. I think their personnel wide receivers improved. I think the offensive line will be every bit as good as it was a year ago. So I think they'll do a pretty good job of being able to marry up the run and the pass and create the big plays that they ran so often at Washington. But I think, right now Ty had a solid spring. Now it's about going and taking it, right? It's about going and just asserting himself as the guy and leaving no doubt, because that's something that he struggled to do a couple years ago. Now, will he be able to actually go in there and assert himself and show that improvement and show that growth from the spring to the summer and throughout fall camp to kind of secure the reins and have the guys?
Are you guys hearing
That's
anything?
Question one for Austin
Yeah.
Mack. He's a big guy, big arm.
I'm not
great
catching it.
touch
I'm not
on the
hearing
deep
it.
ball. Not quite as fast in the short areas, but pretty good in the open field if he wants to take off. But I think he's got a lot of ability on the downfield throw. So if they want to kind of migrate more towards the downfield passing attack, I think he can be a big weapon downfield. And then Keelan Russell, I think, is the most talented. But it's really more at this point about his grasp of the offense. How comfortable is he getting in and out of the nuances that are expected, as a starting quarterback in that offense? So they give the quarterback a lot of freedom to make decisions, to make checks, to make adjustments. He has to be comfortable doing all those things before they throw him into the fire, because if it's based on exclusively talent, it's probably him. But I also don't know at this point if mentally he has the same grasp on the system that Ty does, having gone through it now for 2 springs and a season, and Austin Mack now for two springs and 3 seasons.
You're right about Kalen DeBoer too.
Been with him for a while. I just think that it's going to be fun to watch Kalen DeBoer, and it's not so much fun if you're an Alabama opponent with a quarterback more suited to his system, and that always makes a big difference. And so, and Greg's
excellent.
He's on the number 2 now with him and he and Sean McDonough. then that number one team, of course, is Chris Fowler and Kirk Herbstreit. Let me say something about Winter Timber Outdoors, folks. Turkey season, it's all wrapped up. It's over, but it's fishing season. It's talking season, as Coach Spurrier always says. God love him. They're open every day of the week, and they're building a 13,000 square foot store along University Drive in Auburn, Alabama. That's Lee County, folks. They've got everything you need for the outdoor life. Love these people. They're great people. Kenny Winter, Dylan Monroe, what a team. Kenny's got a kid who's just finished his freshman year at Auburn. But also, I'm going to say something real quick. Brad Bellamy unable to join us today from Landers Ford. They're open. Big holiday weekend, Memorial Day. You could see it from outer space, the big American flag at Poplar and Houston Levy. They're giving you the Ford Promise employee pricing. Don't worry about tariffs. You know what worry is? It's the absence of faith. Go out there and ask for Brad Bellamy, the general manager. Those folks will work their tails off to get you in a car, truck, or SUV. LandersFordMemphis.com. And right down the street in Brendan, if you can show everybody those boots, you got those Wild Boar boots. They've got Wild Boar Feral Sow boots at Hewlett and Dunn from Olathe. They've got Anderson Bean boots. They've got Barber, Filson, STS. Man, I bought Audrey these overall shorts. There's a camouflage pair, a blue pair, and a tan pair. That's more the potato sack. But, man, get some for your ladies, gentlemen. What a gift. She wore them the other night for house cleaning. And they've got so much great-looking women's stuff, purses, bags, luggage, all the Filson luggage. And they've still got a 75% off sale, trying to get the last of the winter stuff because, folks, it's getting hot up here. I'm talking real hot. But, guys, about to wrap up.
I hope you got them boots from a cushion on the lay. From a cushion on the lay after that cushion on the lay.
Rob, let me give a quick PSA to the deer hunters. Most of the deer hunters out there know this, but it's easy to forget. Right now, and you can get away with waiting a month, but it's best right now. If you haven't already, they need to be putting mineral blocks out all over like one block, if you can afford it, pass the hat with your club members.
Yeah.
One block at maybe every 150 to 100 acres, because those bucks, they want minerals. Their antlers are starting to come out of the bases now.
Yep.
And at least in central Alabama, and they will leave your property for minerals if you don't have them out. So that's the most time sensitive thing at the moment.
No, it is. You better be preparing. It's a year round. They don't show up a week before the Masters at Augusta and say, we need to cut the grass. That is a great point. Guys, unbelievable. Mother Teresa said it best. We can't all do everything, but we can all do something. Most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. I got to say something about my wife.
She said that for Brian Kelly, if I remember.
I want to give a compliment to my wife, Audrey, and to our friends, and y'all know who you are. We had a family that we're trying to help. And I mean, it gives you chills thinking about it, but I have the greatest wife in the world, the greatest executive producer, the greatest team, all y'all and our viewers and our watchers. Y'all have a great Memorial Day weekend. If you get a chance and you see a veteran, shake hands and pick up their tab. First responders and veterans, God bless them and God bless America. See you Monday. See you Tuesday.
See you guys.
Taking off Monday.
Go to Memorial Day.